breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly, hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Jake Hasan, who does such great work over at Better Day. He does a great job with his Substack and so much more, looking at this wonderful game of baseball, and we're going to be chatting it up with him as to what we might be able to expect at the trade deadline. We'll chat with him as well as to what he's been all noticing here in baseball post All-Star break, some of the teams that he's feeling bullish/bearish on, and we'll break down the slate that we've got on Sunday in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one or two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, RCM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but had a fun day of baseball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
What the Tigers do with Tariq Skubal is interesting, and they did not help out their cause on Saturday. 3-2, the Royals get the win. Michael Wacha, no dying Pac-Man voice, 2 runs allowed in 7 innings, was taken deep by A.O. Lee, his 6th home run in the campaign, but Tigers go 1 of 11 with men in scoring position. Daniel Lynch, Alex Lang both led a scoreless inning. Casey Mize was great in this start, 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Kyle Finnegan, though, he gives up a solo home run to Salvador Perez, 15th home run season. He's starting to heat up, and then Nick Lofton in the 9th inning, 5th home run in the campaign off of Jacob Giesbach, gives up that home run, and 1 2/3 innings, Tyler holding the scoreless inning, but damage by then it had been done. Not much damage done by the Philadelphia Phillies. 3-1, the New York Yankees get the job done here. Ryan Weathers, he weathers the storm. 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Paul Blackburn walks the plank for 2 shutout innings. On Shavili, not out of the bullpen scoreless. David Benner does not poop the Benner. Scoreless inning out of him. And Tim Mesa, 2 shutout innings. Brian Keller in his MLB debut, he has been in the minors for a very long time, gives up a home run in 3 innings of work as he was taken deep by Austin Wells, who hits it Wells for his 7th home run season. And then Yasan Dominguez of Jose Alvarado, who's been awful this year. 6th home run in the campaign. Alvarado gives up that home run in his inning work. Kyle Bacchus, 2/3 of an inning, gives up 1 run. Seth Johnson out of the bullpen squirrels. Jonathan Boland, Yohan Duran, they both give you a scoreless inning, but not a lot doing for the Phillies at the plate. A lot doing for the Giants at the plate. 9-2, they take down the LA Angels. Ryan Johnson, 3 1/3 innings, 8 runs, all of which were earned, surrendered as he was taken deep by Jung-Ho Lee, his 6th home run in the campaign. And then a little bit later on, Rafael Devers, 22nd home run of the campaign. That comes off Brent Suter, who gives up that home run in 2 2/3 innings. Kirby Yates and then the backup catcher and Tyler Heineman both give you a scoreless inning. For Robbie Ray, hip hooray to a great start. 6 shutout innings for the Angels. They leave 11 men on base. Tristan Beck gives up a run in 2 innings for Keaton Wynn. Gives up a run in an inning, but nice easy winner there for the Giants. The Marlins have now lost 11 straight games. They're now below 500, 7-2. They lose the Slam Diego Padres as Randy Vasquez. He and JP Sears pretty much piggyback here. Vasquez, 2 2/3 innings, allows a run. JP Sears, 3 1/3 innings, scoreless. Yuki Matsui, a scoreless inning. Matt Waldron gives up 1 run in 2 innings, and Uri Perez gives up 3 runs in 7 innings, and then Dax Fulton, if you had the over in this game, well, credit him. He gave up 4 runs over the course of 2 innings to be able to get that one in for you. Being able to get this one in, the Washington Nationals. 5-3 the final, and if you like me on the over, there were 6 runs scored in the first 3 innings in this game, and then it dies into oblivion. Mitch Bratt, well, he looked a little bit bratty in this one. 5 runs allowed in 5 innings. He gives up home run to C.J. Abrams, 25th home run in the campaign. From there, Taylor Clark was able to give you a scoreless inning. 2 scoreless from Gerald Carrillo. Hopefully I got that correct. And then Foster Griffin, 3 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Clayton Beater, well, he did not get beaten in this one, scoreless inning, and then you had 1 1/3 inning scoreless out of Eddie Yean to be able to get that one in. Being able to get this one in, the Tampa Bay Rays, they are the best home team in all of baseball at 37-15. They get the job done 3-0 at Sander Bybee. 3 runs allowed in 6 innings. Will Dion, 2 shutout innings, but Nick Martinez, master of soft contact, just keeps it going. 6 shutout innings. Cole Sulzer, Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, they all give you a scoreless inning. Being able to get lots of scoreless innings, the Toronto Blue Jays, 6-0. They take down the Boston Red Sox. Complete game 1 hitter from Dylan Cease, 12 punch-outs. He was tremendous, and George Springer takes Sonny Gray deep. 11th home run season for Gray. He gives up 5 runs in 5 innings, including that bomb. How about Alec Gamboa coming in for 4 innings? He gives up 1 run, but Red Sox, nothing they could do against Dylan Cease. Second time in like the last 3 or 4 weeks that he had a 1-hitter, so he has been incredibly impressive. what else was impressive was the display of power that we saw from the Cubs against the Pirates, 11-0. They get the job done here as Pico Armstrong was able to go deep off of Ron Marinaccio, 23rd home run of the campaign, and Paul Skeens had 11 strikeouts in this game, but 5 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Marinaccio gives up that home run, 2 runs in total in 1 1/3 innings. Isaac Manson, 1 out of the bullpen, gives up 3 runs. Brandon Eisert, a scoreless inning, and you were able to get a shutout inning from the position player in Tyler Callahan. Meanwhile, for Shota Imanaga, well, he was great in this one. 6 shutout innings. Aviat Assad, 3 shutout innings out of the bullpen, so a rested Cubs bullpen and a nice winner out there. Staying out there in the NL Central, you saw the Milwaukee Brewers take it to the Colorado Rockies. This by a count of 8-5 as Ryan Feltner, 5 runs allowed in 5 innings as Cooper Pratt gets his second home run of the campaign. From there, Juan Mejia gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in his inning of work. Tanner Gordon gives up a run in his 2 innings of work, and for Robert Gasser, does not get gassed in this one. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Chad Patrick, a scoreless inning, and Lance McKellis Jr., 3 unearned runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. You did have Trevor McGill get the final out of the game to be able to get that one in, and for the Brewers, they did have an error or 2 out there in the field. Jake Bowers had the main error that really costed them, but nice easy winner there for the Brewers, and an easy winner for the St. Louis Cardinals, 7-0. They take down the Cincinnati Reds. Hunter Green, 7 runs, 6 of which were earned, only 3 strikeouts. He really struggled. Chase Petty did not, nothing petty about the fact that he got 2 shutout innings. Sam Moll, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Andre 3000 Palante certainly did not give up 3,000 runs. 7 shutout innings, and Goran Gasefo, 2 scoreless innings from there. The Walker Texas Rangers are taking control of the AL West, 7-1. They take down the Seattle Mariners as Brian Wu, more like Brian Boo, 5 runs allowed in 5 innings. You had Cole Wilcox give up a run in 1 2/3 innings, and Nick Davia, 1 1/3 innings. He allows a run. Nathan Eovaldi was tremendous. 1 run allowed in 7 innings. Robbie Elstrom and the Peoples, Brandon Peoples, were both able to come in and give you a scoreless inning. For the LA Dodgers, if you like me, had the run line a little bit rough here from Mr. Edgar Enriquez, but Dodgers do get a 4-3 win. Yoshinobu Yamamoto just so good on the road. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Alex Vesia, scoreless inning, and then Enriquez, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Tanner Scott was great. Scott getting it out of the bullpen scores. Brock and Roll Stewart, a scoreless inning, and Noel McLean had his struggles at home. 4 runs, 2 of which were earned in 6 innings, and cranked deep by Kyle Tucker, 9th home run on the campaign. You had Oscar Brisbane supply a scoreless inning, and Daniel Duarte was able to give you 2 scoreless innings, but the Mets, they left 10 men on base. That seems to be the way that things have been going all season long for this team. And for the Chicago White Sox, they've been hot all season long, 31-18 at home, but they fall in this game 4-1 to the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown was tremendous. 7 punch-outs, 7 shutout innings. From there, Brian DeRayu, pair of outside the bullpen scores. Bennett Sosa gives up an unearned run, hurt by an error out there in the field, but Josh Hader, he gets a final 2 outs of the game to be able to get the save. And Sean Burke, he was solid here. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned. He was hurt by a Bryson Montgomery error, but he got 10 punch-outs. Trevor Richards from there gives up 1 run in 2 innings. Tyler Schweitzer, great name, he was able to give you a shutout inning of his own, but not enough to be able to get this one in. The Twins, they hold down the Athletics, where things are really going rough for them. The Athletics were 38-38. They are now 6-22 in their last 28 games, 2-0. The Twins get the job done. Brady Basso as the opener, pretty solid here. 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Mason Barnett, 3 1/3 innings, does give up 2 runs, but Jose Suarez not out of the bullpen scoreless. Luis Medina scoreless inning. Hayden Junger a scoreless inning, but nothing doing for the Athletics at the plate. Kendrys Rojas, 4 shutout innings. Taylor Rogers, a pair of shutout innings. Tommy Nance, Andrew Morris, Yandris Gomez, they all went a scoreless inning to be able to get that one in, and being able to get this one in, the Baltimore Orioles, 3-2. They take down the Atlanta Braves. For the Bravos, not a bad start here from Bryce Elder. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 5 innings. Gunnar Henderson takes him deep for his 18th home run season. Victor Medeiros, 2 shutout innings, and then DDA Fuentes, 1 2/3 innings. He gives up the walk-off winner to Dylan Beavers, and Brandon Young continues his really good season. 6 1/3 innings, he gives up a run. Grant Wolfram, pair of outs out the bullpen scrolls. Uncle Rico Garcia gives up a home run to Ozzy, Albies, 17th home run season, but then Yennier Cano, don't you know, he was able to give you a shutout inning. And if you're taking a look at what we're all getting trend-wise in Major League Baseball right now, the unders now have a nice lead on overs. 773 unders, 759 overs. Now nearly 50.5% of games trending under the total, which I find to be incredible. And if you're looking at the pushes, I believe that we have now had 37 pushes this season. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56%, 852 and 670, but we have seen 204 of those favorites be unable to cover the run line. Look at the last 30 days in baseball. 54.1% of games going under the total, 192 unders, 163 overs, and If math serves me correct, 8 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line at 58.2%, 202 on 145, with 50 of those favorites being unable to cover the run line. And if you look at the last 7 days in baseball, favorites are 49 and 42, so struggling a little bit, and 14 of those 49 favorites failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the under rate, 56.25%, 54 unders, 42 overs, and no pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's where we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends as we get Jake Hasan aboard right here on the Baseball Betting Show. With myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Decent Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Jake Hasan aboard. He is doing such great work taking a look at this amazing game of baseball. He and our good friend Kobe Marcio do a great job over on the podcast/show on Better Day called Off the Board. He is based out there in the lovely city of Chicago, where certainly a lot of intrigue between the Cubs, between the White Sox, and so much more. And for Jake, he's doing a great job as well on the college baseball front for those that are looking out for that as well, because as we know with college sports, it just never ever ends. To be able to follow Jake on the old Twitter/X, that is easy enough at the Jake Hasan. Last name is spelled Hasan. And Jake, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, thanks for having me. Happy to be here and excited to talk about what we might see at the deadline.
Oh, absolutely. And we're about a week away from the deadline. This year is August 3rd, so a little bit later than the typical July 31st, August 1st date. And just how do you take a look at it this year? Because with the American League teams, other than I would say the Angels and the Royals, and we can now throw in there the Athletics with the way that they've toilet bowled, it feels like there's a lot of question mark with these teams that are on the borderline.
Yeah, it feels wide open. And I mean, me and you have talked about this before too, especially in the American League. The American League is wide open. All of these teams, except for those 3 bottom feeders that you mentioned, all feel like they have a shot at the playoffs. So even though it does feel slower with the August 3rd trade deadline, like I find myself sitting around here being like, man, we really haven't gotten anything. The last couple of days, we've started to get a couple more crumbs as, smoke and rumors start to come out a little bit more day by day. But I think this gives these teams more of an opportunity to really decide where they're going to stand. And it gives teams like the Astros, for example, a chance to say, okay, are we really going to be contenders? Can we really make a push here, or should we sell? So I think it makes it a little more interesting here.
Yep, I really do think so as well. And I think that really is interesting for these teams that need starting pitching. And there's quite a few of them out there. I would say that the Chicago Cubs are certainly one of those teams because we thought Joe Ryan, Tariq Skubal were going to be on the trade block, and they still might be, especially with the Tigers losing on Saturday. But how do you take a look at the Twins and the Tigers? Because I think they've got big decisions here over the next 7 days.
I think the Twins are deluding themselves if they don't trade guys like Joe Ryan. I think they should attempt to move Byron Buxton as well if they can. I know he has a no trade clause, and they would have to work around that. But here's the thing. The Twins aren't a team that's going to win a World Series. Neither are the Tigers. And the Tigers, with Tariq Skubal about to hit free agency, decisions have to be made. And like you said, at least the Twins, I would buy the argument that, okay, Ryan and Buxton and some of these guys have a couple more years of control. But in Detroit, you risk losing Skubal for nothing. Do you really want to win an AL wildcard game against the Guardians maybe and then get just destroyed by the Rays in the division series? Or do you want to restock that farm system and try this again? Skubal's saying that he wants to spend the rest of his career in Detroit. Okay, that's great. He'll have a chance to prove that in the winter when they give him a contract offer. But for now, the Tigers have to do what's best for the organization, and that's trading Tariq Skubal.
Yep, and that's going to be an interesting case as to who's going to be able to give up enough for him as well, because we're hearing rumors about the Brewers. The LA Dodgers are just in on absolutely everybody because they're the LA Dodgers. So there's that aspect of things. And I do think that that's interesting as well. If you're the Phillies and the Brewers, how much might you want to make a trade, just for lack of a better term, to block the Dodgers from becoming a bad guy that becomes even more bad, for lack of a better term?
100%. I think that has to be an incredibly motivating factor, especially for the Phillies, too, when you consider, Atlanta's going to be active. Atlanta's always active in these markets, and it's usually on the fringes. They get the Jorge Solers, or they get the guys who are the fourth outfielder or a fifth starter. But the Braves will be active, and they're desperate for pitching. So from the Phillies standpoint, standpoint, they have to be ultra motivated. Helps that they have a crazy person, and I mean that as a compliment, when Dave Dombrowski running things, so we know he's not scared of taking the big swing. The Brewers, Greg, I'm going to be honest with you, if the Brewers get Tariq Skubal, that doesn't move the needle for me because the Brewers are always a team that's built on pitching. We know their pitching is good, but the problem with Milwaukee is they don't have a star in the lineup. And I've said this to you, I've said this to other people, until the Brewers get that star in the lineup, and we can't just wait around for Jesus Mate because he's 19 in Double-A, so it's going to be a little bit. They need an actual star. William Contreras is a fine player. He's an all-star. That's great. But they need that star. They need that 2017 Christian Yelich back, and he's certainly not there right now. So even if the Brewers get Skubal, that doesn't move the needle for me. Now, if the Phillies get Skubal, now we're cooking with gas.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's interesting because you bring that up for the Brewers. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. And what slugger might be out there that might be able to push them over the top? Because we're hearing some rumors about Zach Neto out there for the Angels. You have to think that Shea Langoliers has to be on the trade block for the Athletics. Those are the two main guys that come to mind. Is there maybe another guy or two that could be on the trade block that could be sort of that power bat that a team like the Brewers, I would say a team like the Phillies as well, could really use?
Yeah, Zach Neto's interesting to me. High power, same thing with Langoliers. I think Mike Trout should be available. We know what the Angels are. They're very averse to trading him because he still puts butts in the seats. But I think the Angels, much like the Tigers, have to say, okay, we got to start looking to the future here. So if Trout's available, I think he's a great fit for somebody like Philly, the hometown angle notwithstanding. Would definitely work in Milwaukee, even though still doesn't give them that true star because we all know what Mike Trout is at this point. I mean, could I interest anybody in Rafi Devers? We know that the Giants aren't doing anything. They're 16 games under 500. So I think somebody like Devers on the move for the second time in 2 years could be interesting. He fits for the Phillies, certainly. Definitely would give the Brewers that star as well. And then we have to see what the Mets do. I'm sure you've seen it as well. Some chatter over the last couple of days that maybe Francisco Lindor is available. That is for sure. I mean, if Lindor ends up being available for sure, the Mets say, hey, yeah, we're selling him. He's available. That's the biggest fish in the pond hitter-wise immediately. So maybe teams are going to wait on that. Again, we only have about a week or so. But I think Lindor, Trout, Devers, those are all names that are worth watching.
Yep, they are going to be really interesting names, and we've got a lot that is going to be happening over the next week or so, and what these teams do in the next week might determine how much/little they buy, as well as Jake Hasan, who does such great work over at Better Day, and so much more, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And a team that is just in free fall right now. I thought they might be buyers at the deadline. That'd be the Miami Marlins. It looks like they're going to slip below 500 here with a Saturday loss. Now it's Jansen Junk against Walker Buehler, and that's a Padres team that's right around 500 as well. It's interesting to see what they do as well. Right now, the Marlins are right around about a -125. What do you make both out of this game and these two teams? Because they seem to be teams that are sort of stuck in no man's land, and I would say at this point, both of these teams should be sellers because even if they make a push towards a wild card, they're not competing with the top teams in the National League.
I'll start with the Padres, Greg, because we've already started to see the Mason Miller rumors start to go around. And of course, the Yankees are saying, oh, they're dying to get Mason Miller, and we'll see if that actually happens. But we know how A.J. Preller operates. He's a guy that is always going to push his chips to the center of the table. Is it probably best for them to start looking towards a future where they can still build around Fernando Tatis Jr. while he's in his prime? Because over the last month, certainly since the break ended, he's looked like himself again. He's looked great. So maybe there's some hope there that he can still be that pillar of the franchise going forward. So I personally think the Padres would sell, but my brain says that A.J. Preller is just averse to selling. It's not in his blood to do that. Whereas the Marlins, on the other hand, man, I'm with you. I thought this team was going to actually compete. My Marlins NL East 40-1 tickets will tell you that, but I really thought we were onto something there, especially with that middle infield. But the Marlins, too, I mean, it's probably if they're going to be out of this race or farther from it than close to it, you have to start looking at Sandy Alcantara, obviously, as a trade chip, a former Cy Young winner just a couple of years ago. So the Marlins probably will end up being in sell territory. Maybe they can get red hot again. I'm not super confident in that. But as far as this game, Greg, I can't make Jansen Junk a -150 favorite. I know Walker Buehler is what he is at this point, but I just disagree with this line. It's probably an overplay, if anything else.
Yeah, for Jansen Junk, he certainly lived up to his name in his last start. That was not great, to say the least. So I'm right there with you. And then when it comes to this game, I am very intrigued here because I'm seeing the Pirates right around minus 120 to minus 125. Braxton Ashcraft has had a few fumbles recently, but only getting plus 105 on Jameson Taillon feels like nowhere near enough with the way that he has pitched this year.
No, definitely not. And I think that and you mentioned Ashcraft, like if we were talking a month ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago, we would have said Ashcraft is only minus 120. Let's get all over that. But he's really started to fall apart in the last couple of weeks, in those last couple of starts. So that for me, it's definitely not the Pirates. I've never been a Jameson Taillon guy, at least not at this point in his career. He is what he is, fly ball pitcher. So this might be an opportunity to try and pick out some home runs for the Pirates.
Yeah, that's not a bad look there. Personally, I'm going to be willing to back Braxton Ashcraft myself, even though he's not in the world's greatest form. Him in bad form is better than Jameson Taillon in good form, in my opinion. So there's that aspect of things. And then we're going to have a fun one on Sunday Night Baseball because Christopher Sanchez has been so good at home now. A little bit shaky here in his last few starts, going up against Will Warren and the Yankees. That total is 8. The Phillies are minus 160. Want to get your thoughts here because I like Christopher Sanchez. I love him at home. Don't want to be laying a minus 160 here. And at the same time, I certainly don't want to be taking this plus number here with the Yankees.
It's hard to get behind Sanchez here where the lights are going to be really bright. And it's a Yankee team that, even though without Judge, they still aren't the biggest force. They've still at least been able to hold their water, at least recently, and since the break they've been better. So, and Will Warren's, he's gotten a little bit marginally better year over year, and that includes this year. I know you said you don't want to back him here, Greg. I honestly think we might be getting a little bit of a break here at plus 135. I know it's Sanchez, and that's a guy that I love. I had tickets on him last year. That was really fun. I love him as much as the next person, but I do think that the Yankees do have a little bit of hashtag value here.
Yep, and when it comes down to it as well, I think the real value might be on the under because with Will Warren, he's been really good at not allowing home runs when he's been away from them. I just don't know if the Yankees could get 3 runs in this game, so I might just be looking at that under of 8 and calling it a night myself. So that'll be an interesting one, and we've got a lot of great games up and down the board. I don't know if Royals versus Tigers is one of those great games, but we've got a lot of games on the board in general. Anything else that's really just calling your name here on this Sunday?
Yeah, there's a couple that stick out to me. I like getting Parker Messick as a dog. I know Drew Rasmussen's been great for Tampa Bay, and he's your third favorite in the Cy Young market, but I think Messick here is getting a little bit of disrespect, which sounds a little weird to say, but he's been phenomenal as a rookie. I know the Guardians are kind of mad, but with Jose Ramirez back now, I have a little bit more interest in them. So I think you're getting a little bit of, again, hashtag value here on the Guardians, being able to get plus money on them. And then 2 pick'em games, Greg, that just, it's on the principle, a matter of principle. The White Sox as a pick at home against an Astros team that they're better than. Ronel Blanco in his second start off the injured list. I know, I can hear the people screaming at me already. It's Eric Fetty. How could you want to back him? Listen, he's serviceable. At least he's a major league pitcher. He's a guy that can get you 5 innings, maybe even 6 if you're lucky. And this White Sox team is just matter-of-factly better than the Astros. When you're getting the White Sox in this spot at home as a pick, and maybe they get bet out a little bit, but even still, I like them here, especially we've seen this throughout the year, Greg. When they're in this spot as a dog or a pick at home, they usually come through. And then the other one for me is the Mariners and the Rangers. You're giving me Jacob deGrom at home at a pick. 1,000%. Give me all of that and some more. I might take out a loan for this one. Gamble responsibly, of course. But I don't love this Mariners team. I think that the Rangers are flat out better. The Mariners are behind the Rangers in the standings in their own division. Now you're giving me Texas at home. I know the Rangers are missing Seager. They're missing Young. But I still think this is a better team. I'll take the Rangers.
I agree with you on every single one of those. And if you look at Eric Fetty's numbers when he's been a member of the White Sox, always pitches so much better in Chicago rather than away from home. Away from home, probably wouldn't be able to back him. At home, I feel much better about it. So I agree with you there. And circling back to the Guardians, do you think that there might be some sneaky value on them moving forward as well? Because I noted this, they just weren't scoring any runs without Jose Ramirez in the fold. And not that they're going to be a top 5 offense now, but I feel like getting back not just Ramirez, but Anel Martinez in this series as well.
Yes.
I feel like that's going to be just enough for the Guardians to be able to provide a lot of value moving forward.
Yeah, I think it might take some time for books and lines to adjust. You might get the Guardians in spots like we are today, where they're dogs and it probably should be closer to a pick, or it shouldn't be as much plus money as it is. So they're a team I have circled. Like you mentioned, they're not going to magically become a top 5 offense. They're not magically going to become a World Series contender. Still think that this team has warts. Still think that the White Sox are the better bet to win the AL Central. But this Guardians team is due for some positive regression for sure.
Yep, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Guardians always have a tough time putting up runs. Even they are better than the 3.7 to 3.8 runs per game that they were averaging without Jose Ramirez. So we should be able to see some upside there. And we've always got positivity and we've always got upside when you're aboard, Jake. You're doing such a tremendous job over at Better Day. You do a great job with your Substack, taking a look at MLB and college baseball and so much more. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the Jake Hasan, Hasan. You can follow me on Instagram too if you're into that, Hasan_Jake. Substack daily newsletter every day with plays and breakdowns. Hasan'sHacks.substack.com.
Absolutely. Jake is doing an incredible job looking at this wonderful sport of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to Jake for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we have them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Jake Hasan. He does such excellent work over at Better Day. He does a great job with his own Substack. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to Jake for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games also in time order, and then any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started with 901, 902 on the card. It is the Diamondbacks on the road against the Washington Nationals. Miles Mikolas goes for the Nats. Cole Drake is on the bump for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks minus 118 to minus 125 favorites. Even money to plus 105 for the Nationals. Then is the total over and under both at minus 110. And I did make the Nationals a favorite here at a minus 111. Now, if Miles Mikolas is not listed as the starter, you get some schlub reliever like Orlando or Balter or something like that. He's still going. The Nationals have just utilized an opener for Miles Mikolas quite a bit. As a matter of fact, he's appeared in 21 games. He's only started 8 of them. So this is still going to be Miles Mikolas, and he's still been giving up a lot of contact. 5.60 ERA. Fielding independence right on par with that. 1.9 home runs per 9 innings allowed, only about 4.7 punch outs per 9. He's been a little bit better here recently in his last 19 appearances, because he sometimes does not go as a starter. He's been posting up an ERA more around about a 4.67, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I just have so many questions with Cole Drake. He gave up 1 run in 5 innings in his first career start, and it's a PCL. The PCL is a really hard league to pitch in, but 6.92 ERA in 17 appearances at the minor league level, 1.5 home runs, 4.2 walks per 9 innings, and now you have to go up against a National team that's numero uno in all of baseball in terms of run creation with about 5.5 runs per game. Obviously, James Wood has been able to give you good wood all season long. He's right now supplying 28 plus home runs, and his on-base percentage is starting near 400, but CJ Abrams, he's up to about 24, 25 home runs. He's been able to do a nice job hitting about a 290 for this unit. Luis Garcia, 20 plus homers out of him. Dylan Cruz has still been a little bit of a disappointment, but better for him recently. And then so like Curtis Mead gives you a 350 on base with 15 plus home runs. Even these guys like Anasim Nunez has been able to steal a lot of bases. Now for the Nationals, this bullpen has not been great. They've been a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA, with BJ Poole and Brad Lord being on the injury list. That hurts. Carson Palmquist, Riley Cornelio, all above a 5+ ERA. Clayton Beeter, Orlando Arbolta aren't awful, but still not necessarily amazing. And then on the other end of things for the Diamondbacks, I don't trust in Paul Sewald as a closer, but these guys like Juan Murillo, Taylor Clark, Graydon Garcia, Jonathan Loaizaga, got a lot of guys that do give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Gabriel Moreno's been able to hit above a 300. He's been able to do a nice job, but I mean, the power's way down for the team. They're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of overall run creation away from home. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 18 home runs, hitting about a 255. Corbin Carroll's been in a funk recently. He and Nolan Arenado between 14 and 15 home runs apiece, and they're the lone two guys other than Marte with over 7 home runs on the roster. Carroll, about a 250 average, 343 on base. Arenado's hitting for about a 325 on base. So do think that the Nationals do go out there and get the job done in a little bit of a lower scoring game than expected. So by total 9.8. So at the 10, I'm in on the under, and the Nationals on the money line made them minus 111, 903, 904 on the card. The Pirates are going to be playing us the Chicago Cubs as Jameson Taillon goes for the Cubs. Braxton Ashcraft hopes that not be a load of Ashcraft for the Pirates. Pirates minus 122 to minus 126 favorites, plus 104 to plus 105 is that number on the Cubs, and the total's between 8.5 to 9. On the 9, the under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, and on the 8.5, over is minus 115 to minus 120, under is between even to minus 105, and I felt like the Pirates should be a minus 166 here. I'm going to be in on them on the money line for Jameson Taillon. Just a no good, very bad, terrible season for him, as right now he's got a 5.38 ERA, 6.40 fielding dependent, 2.8 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings. Just his second start in the last 40 days, so not feeling great there. Now for Braxton Ashcraft, his ERA is starting to creep up a little bit. It's now up to a 3.95, but still 3.43 fielding dependent. He's getting a little bit over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's been allowing closer to about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but still 2.1 to 2.2 walks per 9 innings. He's doing a solid job keeping things out in front of him. Had most of his rough starts come away from him as well, so I do think that he's going to be able to do a good job in the circumstance. And for the Cubs, without question, this has been a solid offense. They're a top 10 team in terms of overall run creation, with Pete Crow-Armstrong really leading the way for this team. For Crow-Armstrong, 20 plus home runs, 385 on base. He has been incredible, and up and down the boulevard, you do have guys that move line. Ian App, Alex Bregman, even Patrick Ramirez. These are guys between about a 320 to a 335 on base. Michael Busch, Suzuki are above a 350 on base, along with Miguel Amaya. Dansby Swanson's been better recently, but still, I feel like it was just a few really good games like that double dip against the Mets. He still has been a bit of a disappointment, and Ian App, 18 plus home runs. Suzuki has been able to give you some bombs, but feels like it's a little bit inconsistent there. And for the Pirates, they're averaging between 5.6 to 5.7 runs per game at home. That is number one in all baseball. Brandon Lau, he's certainly getting loud. He's been able to give you 21 plus home runs, but I mean, it's not necessarily the home run ball that's doing it for them. It's just guys moving the line. Like Esmeralda Valdez has been able to give you a home run every 11 at bats. He, along with Brian Reynolds, Nick Gonzalez, are all give you at least a 365 on base. In the case of Gonzalez, along Jake Magnum, they're hitting above 300 as well. Even someone like a Jacob Gonzalez at the bottom of the fold is hitting a 250. You've had Ryan O'Hearn give you a double-figure amount of homers, 340 on base. Now for the Pirates, who have to have some trepidations with regards to the bullpen, because, man, it has not been great to say the least. I don't necessarily love what Gregory Soto is providing. Mason Montgomery has had an ERA that's been hovering more in that neighborhood about a 370, and he's one of your more trustworthy guys. Brandon Heiser, 4+ ERA, but Carmen Mulchinski should be able to stabilize things. And when it comes to the Chicago Cubs team, they are dealing with all sorts of injuries. Hobie Miller, Phil Matone, Riley Martin, Daniel Palencia, all on the injury list. Jacob Webb, Ryan Rolston have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Gavin Hollowell isn't bad either, but do think that the Pirates do go out there and get the job done. I did set my total at an 8.7, like that 8 after the over, and the Pirates here on the money line. 905, 906 on the card. It is the Dodgers on the road against the Mets, as Freddie Peralta goes for the Mets. Emmett Sheehan for the Dodgers. Dodgers minus 155 to minus 160 favorites, plus 125 to a plus 130 is that number on the Mets. 9 is the total, over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. I do like the over. I did set my total at 9.1. If you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Dodgers, you're seeing as good as a plus 106, as bad as a minus 105, and this becomes a little bit of a interesting circumstance here, because if I'm able to get a minus 115, which I'm seeing right now out there with the Mets in terms of getting a run half, I'm actually going to be willing to take it, mainly because for the New York Mets, I know that it's been a no good, very bad, terrible season here for Freddie Peralta, but Emmett Sheehan is not a guy that necessarily knocks my socks off either. He's posting up a 5.13 ERA, 450 fielding dependent, and he does get 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he's sort of similar to Freddie Peralta in that respect. Peralta, when he's at peak form, he gets you over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, career low, less than 9 strikeouts per 9 innings this year. That's not great, but for Emmett Sheehan throughout his career, 3.20 home ERA. At home, he gives up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, about 1.9 home runs per 9 innings and a 5.71 ERA. And for Freddie Peralta, it's been a no good, very bad, terrible season for him. He's right now posting up a 5.01 ERA. The dude has given up 3+ runs, and I believe now 6 out of his last 8 starts, 451 fielding dependent, 1.4 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings. And I mean, it's not like it was all bad for the season. It just was really toilet bowled over the last, we're going to call it about month or so. That 10 spot that he gave up against the Philadelphia Phillies really manifested things. But I mean, even if you want to go back a little bit further, he has now allowed 3+ runs in 9 out of his last 12 starts, albeit some of those have been unearned runs. But man, that's not great. And you got a Dodgers team that's right atop the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home, hovering in the neighborhood about 5.7 to 5.8 runs per game. So very much in on the over here for the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani might not be 100% himself right now because he is dealing with that leg injury, but still 390 on base, 20+ home runs. He's been tremendous. Max Muncy, Andy Paz, Freddie Freeman, these are all guys who give you 15+ home runs. These are all guys that are doing a solid job hitting for at least a 260 as well. Kyle Tucker, it's been a rough season for him, but he did have a home run yesterday, and Teoscar Hernandez, I think, is going to round into form as well. Meanwhile, for the Mets, it's been rough for them on offense as well, but Carson Bench has been a little bit better. Double-figure amount of homers. He's hitting at 260. Francisco Alvarez, again, hitting about a 260, 10 to 11 home runs out of him. Now, likes of Marcus Semien, Jorge Polanco, throwing there Francisco Lindor. These guys hitting at 230 or lower that are just not living up to expectations. That's been rough to say the least. And then you've got Juan Soto, who's been able to give you a 400 on base, and he's been able to supply 20+ home runs. But you do want to note that Juan Soto was out of the fold yesterday, and he's probably going to be out for quite some time because he's dealing with a calf strain. So that makes things a little bit more difficult. But with the way that Sheehan is going, I do think that you're going to be able to get some run scoring in this game. It is a Dodgers team that is in the top half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I've been really liking what I've been seeing on the likes of a Will Klein, Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott, Great Scott, these guys who have been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA, but Kyle Hurd has really started to regress. Jack Dreher has been a little bit shaky, and this is a Mets bullpen that honestly is not awful. Now, we have seen Austin Warren really hit the toilet bowl, but Oscar Brisbane, AJ Minter, Luke Weaver, Brooks Raley, these are guys who have been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Devin Williams has even been a little bit better, though I still don't have a lot of faith in him as well, but circumstance where I do think that for the Mets, they can stay within a run in this game. So I'm going to take a run and a half at about -115, -120 with the Mets, and with a total of 9, I'd like the over. I did some my total here at a 9.1. 9 of 7, 908 on the card. The Marlins are going to be playing against the Padres. Walker Buehler goes for the Padres, and Jansen Junk hopes to not live up to his name for the Miami Marlins. Marlins -126 to -135 favorites, +108 to +110 is that number on San Diego. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. Under is -115. The over is -105. The 8.5 juice is over at -115. The under is -105, and I do like the under here. I set my total at 8.3. Boy, Jansen Junk lived up to his name in his last start against the Houston Astros, and the Miami Marlins have been that in general. I believe they have now lost 10 straight games. They were the hottest team in all of baseball in the month of June, and post-All-Star break, they have now been the coldest team in all of baseball. So, boy, this has not been great to say the least. But for Jansen Junk, at the very least, he really doesn't beat himself. He does have a 5.09 ERA, but a 4.61 fielding independent, 1.4 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings. He's just not going to blow you away with the swing and miss stuff. 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Again, the 6th spot that he gave up against the Houston Astros, that was very much less than savory, to say the least. But for Junk, a lot of his struggles have come away from home this year. 6.31 road ERA, a home ERA more around about a 4.36, and at home, he's given up about 1.25 home runs per 9 innings. And for Walker Buehler, I actually do think that he's better than his 5.23 ERA would indicate, more like a 4.37 fielding independent, 1.1 home runs, 3.8 walks allowed per 9 innings. He had that just blow-up start against the Chicago Cubs that really ballooned up his numbers. And for the Padres, this is a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League. You still have Mason Miller, along with Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui. These guys give you a sub 3.25 ERA. They already don't the Jason Adam injury, but Adrian Morejon has been able to round into better form as well. And for the Miami Marlins, they continue to be a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA now. They are dealing with some injuries, Anthony Bender being on the injury list. That hurts them, but They really didn't use up a lot of the bullpen yesterday. Dexton, Fulton, well, if you had the over, he was very, very kind to you. But you've been able to get some relatively good innings out of John King, who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Blake Bakar, relatively good long guy. Now, Kelvin Fauché, Pete Fairbanks, both of these guys well above a 4.50 ERA, and I just don't know what has happened to Pete Fairbanks. He has been awful this far this season. But Michael Peterson, great name, sub-3 ERA out of him. And for the Miami Marlins, this is sort of a mix-and-match team. They're a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, but they've been able to get some relatively good production out of Liam Hicks, 14 home runs, about a 355 on base. They're dealing with an injury to Owen Casey. That's hurting them a little bit, but Joe Mack all of a sudden is getting a home run every about 18 or so at-bats. Alberto Hernandez, after a rough start to the season, hitting closer to 250 with 14 home runs, and this is one of the best base stealing teams in all of baseball. Jacob Marcy needs it better than a $1.95, but 19 stolen bags. Otto Lopez, 20 steals, 330 average. Asterio Ruiz, he's up to 24 stolen bases, and on the other end for the Padres, entering into last week, dead sinking last in terms of run creation in all of baseball. The 19th spot against the Royals was able to get them going, and they've been okay with regards to run creation away from home. They're averaging nearly 4.6 runs per game away from home at home. It goes all the way down to 3.7 runs per game. That's tied with the Cardinals for dead last in all of baseball. And Fernando Tatis Jr., he's had 3 home runs ever since the All-Star break. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base, so he's been able to do a little bit of a better job for this team. And I like Ty France, 17 home runs, hitting about a 285. You just still have these guys like Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Gavin Sheets, these mix-and-match outfielders, Xander Bogaerts, the entire catcher spot, hitting at 225 or lower. So I am going to be in on the under. I did some total at 8.3, and with the Marlins, I know that it's been rough for them. I'm going to back them here. I'm willing to lay up to minus 130 with them. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. It's the Brewers. They're going to be playing us to the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland goes for the Rockies, and one Mr. Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz, is on the bump for the Brewers. And the Brewers, who find themselves as anywhere between minus 295 to minus 320 favorites, plus 240 to plus 265. That number on Colorado, 7.5 is a total over and under, both at minus 110. And if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Brewers, find that at a reasonable minus 125 to a minus 130, and I'd be willing to go up to about a minus 148 here. Kyle Freeland has just been that bad, and he's telling people to get off of his mound when he's got an ERA above a 7. Just not great there, and for Kyle Freeland right now, 7.28 ERA. The fielding dependent of a 490 points to its positivity, but I just don't think that it's coming. 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's getting 7.9 strikeouts per 9, and it's not even like he's demonstratively better when he's away from Coors Field as well. On the road, he's actually got an 8.28 ERA, and he's giving up about 2.2 home runs per 9 innings. So, yeah, not great there. And for Mizorowski, he's just been unhittable all season long. 157 ERA with a 205 fielding dependent, 13.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He did give up a few runs in those 2 starts against the Reds and the Cardinals, got right back online against the New York Mets. Was a little bit limited in that start, and you do want to note that he did skip his last start prior to the All-Star break, so you have to figure that the Brewers are trying to maybe load manage him just a little bit here, so you have to expect a little bit more of the Brewers bullpen, but it is a Brewers bullpen that's been one of the best in all of baseball as well. The likes of Aaron Ashby, Trevor McGill, Grant Anderson, Abner Uribe. These have been guys that have been able to give you a sub-355 ERA all season long. For the Brewers, number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League, got a 351 in the Rockies. Well, they are not that. They are a bottom 5 team in the league in terms of bullpen ERA at a 491. And Antonio Senzatella has been a nice find in the bullpen, but still, you got these guys like Victor Vodnik posting up over a 5 ERA, Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia. They just have not been great, to say the least. So the Rockies have been able to hit away from home much better than they have in the past. Hunter Goodman is a good man with over 30 home runs and more home runs away from home rather than at home. He's giving you about a 333 on base. And then you've got Cole Carrick, TJ Romfield, Jake McCarthy. These guys hitting above a 275 for this unit. Mickey Moniak has been in and out of the lineup, but should be in for this one. He's been relatively solid. And for the Brewers, just a whole bunch of guys moving line. They're a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis, but hey, Garrett Mitchell, Jake Bowers, along with Bryce Durang, I'll give you between about a 360 to a 365 on base, and Bowers 17 plus home runs out of him. Christian Yelich hasn't even been himself this far this season, but Jackson Chourio, he's been able to about a 275. He's been rock solid. Cooper Pratt has been able to give you a 350 on base. Do think that the Brewers go out there and dominate Kyle Freeland. I like the over, so I total 7.7, and for the Brewers, one to lay up to about a minus 148 or so on that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Cardinals. They're going to be playing us to the Reds. He has Braun to Cincinnati. He's on to Andrew Abbott, getting the start for them, and then Kyle Leahy is on the bump for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Cardinals do find themselves as a somewhat mid-tier favorite here, about minus 130 to minus 136, and plus 112 to plus 115 is that number on the Redlegs. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 9, the under is minus 120, and the over is even money. And I made the Cardinals a minus 135, so up to a minus 134 is what I'm laying on that money line. And for Kyle Leahy, he's not doing anything great. He's not doing anything terrible. Right now, posting up a 3.59 ERA. Fielding depends slightly higher at a 4.01, as he's getting only about 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but also only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he's going out there and he's pretty much just holding down the fort, which is good enough for this team. And with Andrew Abbott, he has given up 3 earned runs or fewer, and now 14 out of his last 15 starts, actually 15 out of his last 16, but I think that is going to be a streak that is going to be coming to an end very soon. 3.89 ERA, 4.71 fielding dependent, 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings while giving up 4.1 walks, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. He's been really lucky that he hasn't been giving up more damage than what he has. Now for the Cardinals, they're averaging 3.7 runs per game at home, and it's actually tied with the San Diego Padres for the fewest out there in all of baseball, and yet they're a top 3 team in terms of run creation away from them. So riddle me that, but for the St. Louis Cardinals, you do have Jordan Walker, who's giving you over 20 home runs, sitting at 290. We'll see if there's a little bit of a slump after that home run derby expose, but Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt, Lars Nootbaar, they're all giving you between about a 340 to a 355 on base. Ivan Herrera, 365 on base. I will say it goes down significantly at home, and you do need these guys like a Nathan Church along with Brian Torres to give you a little bit more at the bottom of the fold, but for the Reds, they certainly have their dead bats at the bottom of the fold. I'm looking at you, TJ Friedel and Brian Hayes. They threw out there in a volley Marte yesterday. Tyler Stevenson is starting to pick it up, and Nunez Suarez still has some power, but still, he's sitting at 211 with a 283 on base. It's been all about JJ Bleday along with Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer give you 16 to 17 home runs, and obviously De La Cruz over a 350 on base, lots of stolen bases, and then cousin Sal Stewart, 20 plus bombs, about a 330 on base. And for the Cardinals, it sounds like this is an amazing bullpen. You've had a pair of guys in Ryan Stanek along with Matt Savancin provide over a 4 ERA, and now having Jojo Romero on the injury list. But Riley O'Brien has been relatively presentable. George Soriano might be due for some regression, but a sub-355 ERA there. And for the Reds, they've been more of a league average team with their bullpen ERA ever since June 1st. They've gotten some guys like a Caleb Ferguson off the injury list, CJ Antone, Brocken Roberg. These guys have been pretty solid in the bullpen. They've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Sam Mull, Pierce Johnson, they could be a little bit shaky, especially Johnson with over a 5 ERA. I've never trusted in Emilio Pagan either, so I do think that this is a spot where the Cardinals can get the job done, and I do think that even though the Cardinals have been rough with their offense at home, they get some runs up on the board. Like the over, so I total at 8.8, and for the Cardinals, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 134 on that money line. 913, 914 on the card. The Guardians are going to be on the road facing off against the Tampa Bay Rays as Drew Rasmussen is on the bump for the Rays, and Parker Messick goes for the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians who find themselves as a mid-tier underdog here. You're going to be getting them between about plus 113 to plus 118, minus 128 to minus 140 is that number on the Rays with a total of 7. The juice is all over the place. Over is between minus 115 to even money. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 120, and I'm going to take a shot on the over. I did set my total at a 7.3. For Messick, he has been able to do a really nice job this year for the Cleveland Guardians. So I do think that we were talking about this with Jake Hasan in the last segment. They're in for a little bit of positivity with their lineup with getting back Anel Martinez, Jose Ramirez, and for Messick, relatively solid 268 ERA, about 9 strikeouts, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He's giving up 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. It is a bullpen, though, that has been quite spent here over the last few days, so I have to have a little bit of fear there. Messick, to his credit, he's actually been better with his ERA away from home rather than at home, despite the fact that at home he only gives up 0.4 home runs per 9 innings, and away from home he gives up closer to like 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Rasmussen, 328 ERA, 329 fielding dependent, 1 home run, 1.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. Now he is backed up by the lesser bullpen. As for the Rays, you've had Cole Sulzer supplying an ERA that is well above a 5. It has been up and down for Garrett Clevenger this year, but love what I've seen on Cam Boozer. He and Brian Baker have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Casey Lucamina has been relatively presentable as well, and when it comes to Rays, I have to love what Junior Caminero is doing. 29 home runs going to yesterday, 375 on base, and then Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, they entered in the weekend with a 375 plus on base, 14 home runs apiece out of them. Chandler Simpson, 26 plus stolen bases, he's hitting darn near 290. Nick Fortes, maybe he doesn't give you power, but he hits a 280. These guys like Johnny DeLuca, Ryan Valde, they've been very solid at the bottom of the lineup, and on the other end for the Guardians, again, it's going to get better for for this lineup. Getting back Jose Ramirez, even though he hasn't been in peak form this year, along with Ana Martinez, who's got a double-figure amount of homers, that helps. Brian Rocchio, Travis Bazzano, about a 330 or so on base. Steven Kwan all of a sudden is starting to hit again. He's back up to about a 350 on base, thank goodness gracious, but you still have the dead bats like Patrick Bailey, Petey Halpin, Kyle Manzardo, David Schneemann, like so many guys hitting at 225 or lower. Rhys Hoskins has given you absolutely nothing this year. Now again, for the Guardians, they are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Cade Smith, along with Hunter Gaddis, have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Eric Sabrowski has been a little bit shaky though. He has seen his ERA go to about a 350. Matt Festa, I don't really have a lot of faith in him. Getting Tim Herron off the injury list is going to help, but he might be a little bit shaky coming off of the IL as well, and I do think that the Rays do just enough to get you this over. We'll delay up to minus 136 on the Rays money line, and I do like the over. So I told 7.3, 915, 916 on the card. The Blue Jays are going to be on the road against the Red Sox. Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Red Sox. Kevin Gausman is on the bump for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays who find themselves between plus 110 to plus 120 underdogs. Minus 128 to minus 135 is that number on Boston. 8 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, and I'm going to fade Kevin Gausman here. I set the Boston Red Sox at a minus 149. Now you have to have a little bit of question mark with Ranger Suarez because he was dealing with sort of the, shall we say, flu bug, and obviously coming off the injury list, this is going to be his first start in darn near 3 weeks, so that's a little bit of caution with this, but still, he's been rock solid. 315 ERA, 261 field independent, half a home run, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, and 9.6 strikeouts per 9. I don't think they'll be back in peak form, but he gets a really soft landing spot against a Blue Jays team that's right now dead stinking last in the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. You've actually got guys that are moving the line, like you've been able to have Ernie Clement along with Nathan Lukes be able to hit above 8.280. AC Sanchez being on the injury list, that certainly hurts the team a little bit, but I mean, they've been able to have a few of these guys find a way on. They just have no power. Kazuma Okamoto, the only guy with more than 11 home runs on the roster. George Springer got his 11th home run yesterday, but I mean, he's been hitting about a 230. They're getting back Yoandrick Pinago. He's been able to hit about 265. And the same goes for Vlad Guerrero Jr. with only 6 home runs. Like, you just need a little bit more there. And it's a Blue Jays team that they're a top-heavy bullpen. You love what Louis Varland, Tyler Rogers have been able to provide, sub-2 ERA there. And then Mason Flaherty's been a little bit better recently. Braden Fisher, about a 385 ERA, but Jeff Hoffman has been all sorts of rough. And for this Boston Red Sox team, they have been number one in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA as well. You've got so many of these guys like a Teran Guerrera, even Alec Gamboa, who filled a lot of innings yesterday to be able to save more of these other guys like a Garrett Whitlock for this game. Giovanni Moore, and these are all guys give you a sub-3 ERA. Aroldis Chapman has been absolutely incredible as well, and when it comes to the Red Sox, they are still a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation at home, but Wilson Contreras has now been able to give you 22 bombs. He's hitting for about a 389 on base, and now you just have guys in general that are finding a way to move the line, get on base. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa being on the injury list, that does hurt them, but Wilder Abreu, Ceddanne Rafael, about a 325 on base. Anthony Siegler, along with Masataka Yoshida, between about a 335 to a 345 on base. Even Connor Wong in a small sample size, he's been able to move the line whenever he's been out there as well. So these guys have been relatively solid. And on the flip side of things, you've got a guy in Kevin Gausman that, man, he is in bad form. Like, you either get really good Kevin Gausman or you get really bad Kevin Gausman. 5+ runs allowed in 4 out of his last 6 starts. Like, you look at the numbers and they should be pointing towards positivity. 451 ERA, 367 field independent, 1.2 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, 9 punch outs per 9. It happens every year with this dude, though. So, I mean, it's a circumstance where I'm going to be willing to trust in the Red Sox on the money line, set them at a minus 149, and like the over, semi-total at 8.4. 917, 918 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Detroit Tigers. We do know that Framber Valdez is on the bump for Detroit, and it is old to be determined on the bump for the Royals. Total on this game is 9.5. Under is minus 120 and the over is even. Minus 184 is that number on the Detroit Tigers on the opener that I'm seeing. Plus 154 for the Kansas City Royals. I was thinking that this should be a Luinder Avila start. Right now, we are seeing on Fangraphs that he's a projected starter. If it's a bullpen game, I would have to downgrade the Royals a little bit. But I mean, with this, I would need about a plus 173 to be able to take a shot on the Royals on the money line. Right now, we're seeing Lang run after the Tigers. You're able to get that at a plus 116, and plus 116 is my bare bones minimum in order to be able to do so, but I'd be willing to do so. I will say this, for Luinder Avila, if you take out that one just absolutely atrocious atrocious start that he had against the Houston Astros, where he gives up 8 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He's actually not been an awful pitcher. I'm not saying that he's good by any stretch of the imagination, but you take that one start out of there because right now he's got about a 4.86 ERA. That drops to more in the neighborhood about a 3.75-ish ERA, give or take a point. So, I mean, he's been okay. You do need to caution yourself on the walks. 5 walks per 9 innings. That's absolutely awful, to say the least. And for Framber Valdez, you want to hear something awful? His last start against the Chicago Cubs. 6 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. I mean, this has been a terrible season for him. 4.57 ERA, 4.16 fielding dependent. He's still only giving up about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. But again, soft landing spot here, going against a Royals team that out of 30 MLB teams, they are 30th in run creation away from home. About 3.6 runs per game. And now you've got Bobby Witt Jr. out of the fold. That's not great, to say the least. Now Jack Caglione, along Carter Jensen, have been able to give you 14 plus home runs. So that helps out a little bit. And you do have a few guys like a Michael Massey is hitting at 275, Starling Marte of the Marte Partes hitting at 260, even Tyler Tolbert hitting above a 300, but not a lot of power here. Salvador Perez, he's actually had like 5 home runs since the All-Star break, but he's also giving you a 257 on base. And for the Tigers, Gleyber Torres, Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green, these are guys give you over a 370 on base. Love what Dylan Dingler brings to the table, 20 home runs, hitting about a 270, but it's bottom of the full with Jake Rogers, Spencer Torkelson, Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry. I mean, all these guys are hanging below a 215, and Torkelson does give you a power, but 298 on base. Kerry Carpenter is giving you a 278 on base right now as well, and for the Tigers, this has actually been a really good bullpen recently. You look since June 1st, and they've been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Jacob Wagispack has come from out of nowhere, and it's been a really good relief piece for them. He, Kyle Finnegan, Tyler Holden, they've all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA now. Wagispack was used for 24 pitches yesterday, so conceivably he's probably not going to be able to come back here, but Brendan Enifee has been able to give you some good innings, and his Royals bullpen just continues to be royally awful. Like Alex Lang, who closed out the game yesterday, he's right now got a 6 ERA. You're still dealing with Carlos Aceves being on the injury list, Matt Strom, Lucas Erceg, Steven Cruz. I'll give you above a 450 ERA. I do like the under here. I did set my total at 8.8, and for the Tigers, plus 116 or better. Like that run line, 919, 920 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Twins as Connor Prelip goes for the Twins. Jeffrey Springs for the Athletics. And the Athletics, shock, surprise, surprise, they do find themselves as the underdog, as you're going to be getting them anywhere between about plus 120 to plus 125, and minus 135 to minus 146 is that number on Minnesota. 10 to 10.5 is it all on the 10.5. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. On the 10, the over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. I'm going to take a shot on the under. I did set my total at a 9.6. For Connor Prelip, this is going to be his first start since coming off the injury list. Didn't necessarily have a lot of time since coming off the injury list because he went 3 innings in his last minor league rehab starts. Didn't look too bad there, and overall for the season, he does have a 5 ERA, but a 389 fielding dependent. 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 9.6 punch-outs per 9, and for the Athletics, they just have not been a good hitting team away from home. Right now, averaging about 4.1 runs per game on the road. That is a bottom 7 mark in all of baseball, and you are currently missing Nick Kurtz, who was able to give the team 20-plus home runs and over a 400 on base. That's just absolutely awful for this bunch. And then you've had a few guys that have been able to do a nice job in terms of moving the line, getting on base. Like, you've got about a 290 average out of Jacob Wilson. As we know, he doesn't really draw a lot of walks, but hey, that's going to be able to help you out. Now, they could have Kurtz in the fold for this game. I think they returned yesterday. Sometimes you get an off day on a Sunday, but still, you have to have a little bit of question mark even if he is in this game as whether or not he's going to be 100%. They do have Donovan Walton, who's now hitting about a 300. Jonah Heim has been okay at the catcher spot as they gave Shea Langoliers a day off, but Tyler Soderstrom, he's been able to really emerge here in the month of June and July. Ever since the beginning of the month of June, he's been solid, and Twins are a top 10 team in terms of run creation. Byron Buxton, 25 bombs. Hasn't necessarily been himself since coming off the injury list, but I think that you're going to be able to have some upside there. Brooks Lee, 15 plus bombs, hitting about a 250. Cody Clemens, 18 home runs, only hitting for about a 296 on base, but I can still give you some power. Trevor Lawrence, about a 380 on base. Both of these bullpens are atrocious. The Athletics dead sinking last in terms of bullpen ERA. They've got nearly a 7 ERA in their bullpen since June 1st. These guys like Jose Suarez, Justin Cerner, just hit the injury list, by the way, Elvis Alvarado, so many guys with a 4+ ERA. Without Mark Leiter Jr., that's not really a loss for this team, but I mean, who's going to be able to fill innings out of this bullpen? Because Jeffrey Springs has been absolutely awful himself this far this season. Now, ERA falls by more than a full point away from him rather than at home, but still, 5.96 ERA, 2.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. That's not a place where you want to be. And for the Twins, at the very least, Andrew Morris has been able to give you a bit of something. He, along with Andres Gomez, sub 355 ERA now, likes of a Eric Orsay is currently on the injury list. Anthony Banda, Cody Lawyerson. Like, man, you just go down the list of guys that are providing an ERA well above a 4. It's an issue, but I do think that this total's a little bit too high. I'm in on the under, semi-total 9.6, and the Twins willing to lay up to minus 152 on the money line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Astros on the road against the White Sox. Ronald Blanco goes for the Astros. Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for the White Sox, and the White Sox find themselves in a relatively pick'em game. As for the Astros, you're going to be finding them right around about minus 102 to minus 108. Meanwhile, for the White Sox, they're anywhere between minus 107 to a minus 115. Total 9.5, unders minus 120, and the over is even. And I do like the under. I did semi-total at a 9.1. Mentioned this with our good friend Jake Hasan, and I do agree with him. For Eric Fetty, is he an amazing pitcher? No, but I do trust in him to be able to get the job done. He's lucky to have a 4.16 ERA. The fielding dependent is more around about a 5.15, 1.5 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. But if you look at his career splits and what he's been able to do in the White Sox ballpark, he's been so significantly better when he's been at home rather than away from home. And this spans multiple seasons because he's had a few tours of duty here with the Chicago White Sox. But that said, when he's been at Guaranteed Rate Field throughout his career, he's got a 2.33 ERA with about 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He still only gets about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but Guaranteed Rate Field has been where he's been able to shine. And then for Ronald Blanco, this is his second start since coming off of the injured list, and it's not like he knocked our socks off in his first start off the injured list. He gave up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings. He had the offense bail him out, and he gave up a pair of home runs in that start, so a little bit less than savory there. I do think that's going to improve for him. And for the Astros, this has actually been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st. Josh Hader coming back in the fold, that's been huge for this team. You've been able to have the likes of A. Brian King along with Steven Okert be able to give you a sub 3.55 ERA. AJ Blueball has been a little bit better. Aniel De Los Santos and Brian Ryu, they just continue to have rough seasons, but it is still a little bit of a top-heavy lineup as well. You know what you're getting out of Yordan Alvarez. 33 plus home runs over a 4-arm base. This guy's been absolutely incredible. Jeremy Pena, not necessarily a ton of power, but he's hitting a 300. Isaac Paredes, about 15 home runs, 350 on base. But then these mix and match outfielders, Joey Looper Fido, Lamont Wade Jr., Zach Cole, Cam Smith, Lucas Spence, like, man, all these guys are hitting at 225 or lower. Smith is up to a double-figure amount of homers, but still a 284 on base. And then for the White Sox, Mataka Murakami has not been himself since coming off the injured list, but he, Miguel Vargas, along with Colson Montgomery, have all been able to give you at least 20 home runs this year. Montgomery less than a 300 on base, and you need more out of Andrew Benintendi, but Tristan Peters is hitting about a 285, Sam Antonazzi about a 370 on base. You need a bit more out of the catcher spot with Edgar Quiero and company, but do you think that for the White Sox, with them being a team that is also a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, that'll be enough to be able to get the job done? The likes of Sean Newcomb, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Trevor Richards has been presentable as well, so I'm going to be taking a shot here on the White Sox, set them at a minus 117. I'd like that 9.5 under, semi-total 9.1. 923, 924 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Rangers as Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers, Logan Gilbert for the Seattle Mariners, and the Mariners find themselves in a pick'em game. They're between minus 104 to a minus 110. Minus 106 to a minus 110 is that number on the Rangers. 7 to 7.5 is the total. On the 7 over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 7.5 under is minus 120. Over is even. And mostly seeing 7s out there, and I'm going to be in on the over. Now, Logan Gilbert has been able to do actually a much better job at home rather than away from home, which I don't understand those home and road splits because Seattle's supposed to be one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball, and up until this year, Logan Gilbert was always significantly better at home rather than away from home, but that's at 223 road ERA, 414 ERA at home thus far this season, so that's been interesting. He's given up 1 home run in 48 1/3 innings. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression here, and for the Rangers, this is a team that's starting to play a whole bunch of overs. I believe now 10 out of their last 12 games have gone over the total. They absolutely mollywopped Brian Wu yesterday as well. Wyatt Langford has been making all the difference. I mean, he's out hitting above a 285. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, both of these guys, 15-plus homers. Berger really doesn't give you a lot of on base, but with Jock Peterson, he, Brandon Nimmo, Nicky Lopez, don't call his name, Alejandro Ozuna, have all been able to give you at the very minimum a 330 on base. Ezekiel Duran is hitting a 275, so this offense is improving, and the Mariners continue to be a bottom 3 team in terms of run creation. Now, Dom Canzone, Luke Raley, Julio Rodriguez, 14 to 16 home runs out of these guys. Cole Young is between 13 to 14 bombs and hitting a 255, but Cal Raleigh has went from the big dumper to just thinking a big dump. He's hitting less than a 175. He had a grand slam earlier in the week, but that's been rough. Colt Emerson has been a flop this far. He's hitting a 200. JP Crawford, he's been banged up, and he's only hitting for about a 220 as well, and For the Mariners, this is a relatively solid bullpen. They continue to be in the top 10 in terms of ERA, but have to wonder if the injuries to Matt Brash, along Cooper Criswell, are starting to creep up on the team. Gabe Speier, Jose Ferrer, Edward Bizarro are all give you a sub-3 ERA, but Nick Davila is starting to regress a little bit. They're having to trust in Michael Rucker for innings. That's not a place where you want to be. And then the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, they've been able to give you a sub-325 ERA for this unit. You've been able to get good production of Tyler Alexander in this bullpen. Having the Jalen Beeks injury has been a little bit rough, but I do think that for the Rangers, they are going to be able to get just enough out of Jacob deGrom here, who I recognize he's been giving up the deep ball a little bit, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be in on the over, because for Jacob deGrom, the swing and miss stuff is right where you'd expect it to be for Jacob deGrom. He's getting about 10.8-ish strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.1 walks per 9, but is giving up the 1.4 home runs per 9. So I'm in on the Rangers money line, set at a minus 112, and like the over 7, semi total 7.4. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Braves. They're going to be on the road against the Orioles. The Wizard of Boz, Shane Baz, goes for the Orioles. Ronaldo Lopez is on the bump for the Braves, and the Braves who find themselves in, again, a relatively pick'em game here for the Braves, between minus 102 to a minus 106, and between minus 108 to minus 116. That is your number on the Atlanta Braves. Total on this game is between 8.5 to 9, with 9, the under is minus 120, the over is even on the 8.5, over is minus 120, and the under is even money, and I do like the over. I did set my total at a 9.2. For Ronaldo Lopez, he's probably doing for a little bit of regression. His ERA is a hair above a 3.50, but the fielding dependence more around about a 4.58, 3.95 as a matter of fact, with that ERA, 1.4 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but he's backed up by a Braves bullpen that is numero uno in all the National League in terms of ERA with a 3.27. The Dillons, Dylan Lee, Dylan Da, they've been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. You've got Rossio Iglesias giving you great innings. Now, we'll say with having Robert Suarez on the injury list, that hurts them a little bit, but Didier Fuentes has found a nice home here in the bullpen, and for the Orioles, more of a league average team with this bullpen area. Ryan Elsley being out of the fold has hurt this team. Ynier Cano has been very good, along with Uncle Rico Garcia. They've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but Grant Wolfram continues to give you about a 4.50 ERA. I just don't have a lot of faith in some of these guys like Anthony Nunez and company, and for Shane Baz, he's been a little bit better at home rather than away from home. He's a guy that just hasn't done anything great, hasn't done anything terrible. He's getting about 8 straight cuts at 3.2 walks per 9 innings, 4.05 ERA. Fielding depends a little bit lower because he's giving up just a hair under a home run per 9 innings, but I do think that the Braves can get to him here. They're averaging 5 runs per game away from home. That is a top 4 mark in all of baseball. Drake Baldwin, ever since the All-Star break, has been himself. When he was coming off the injury list, he wasn't necessarily looking like himself. This has been much better recently. He's been able to give you about a 364 on base. He's up to 18 plus home runs. Ozzy, Albies. He, Mauricio Dubon, Matt Olson, even the young gun in Jim Jarvis, lying at least at 260 for Albies, 15 plus home runs, 25 plus bombs. Out of Olson, Michael Harris is hitting darn near 300 with 15 plus home runs. And then on the other end, for the Orioles, you just have some top heaviness with this lineup. Jackson Alday, along with Tyler O'Neill, Kobe Mayo. You've got a lot of guys at the bottom. And you get 225 or lower. Chadwick Trump, who's starting to get some run at catcher because they've got Adley Rutschman on the injury list. Gunnar Anderson, he's giving you power, 18 home runs, also 295 on base. Pete Alonso, 20 plus home runs. He's been able to give you about a 345 on base. Liking what I'm seeing out of Dylan Beavers, as he's been able to give you about a 340 or so on base. But again, with the Orioles, it's a little bit of a herky-jerky team. They're a bit better with their offense when they're at home rather than away from home, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be in on this total. The over, I did set my total here at a 9.2, but for the Braves, made them a minus 114. I'm in on that money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Angels are on the road against the San Francisco Giants, as Carson Weisenhunt is on the bump for the Giants and Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Halos. The Angels do find themselves again in a relatively pick'em game here, and between plus 105 to a minus 103 is what we are seeing there, and between minus 110 to a minus 120 is that number on the San Francisco Giants. 8 is the total, the under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and being able to get a little bit of plus money on the Angels, I'm going to be willing to take it. Anything of a plus 103 or better does put me in on the Halos here. As for Weisenhunt, he's a guy that is a jag, just a guy, and I do think that he's got a little bit of upside here for the San Francisco Giants. He's not necessarily doing anything amazing, he's not necessarily doing anything awful, and it's just been a small sample size. In his 7 career appearances between last year and this year, 4.50 ERA, and he's given up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings and 4.8 walks per 9 innings. That's not necessarily great, to say the least. You have to take a little bit more of a look at the minor league numbers, and he pitches in Sacramento, which, as we know, the Athletics have demonstrative home and road splits, and he's posted up a 4.15 ERA in Sacramento this year. That's actually not too bad. He doesn't give up a lot of hard contact, but he's always given up a lot of walks throughout his career, and hey, for Jose Soriano, the company is very much there for him, because for Jose Soriano, 3.43 ERA, 0.9 home runs, 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4.1 walks per 9 innings. Here's the thing with Jose Soriano, though. He has been significantly better away from home rather than at home, and these are career splits. 4.55 career home ERA, 3.14 ERA when he is away from home. So he has been so much better when he has left Los Angeles, and for the Giants, they do continue to be a bottom 7 team in terms of overall run creation. Now, you've got a pair of guys in Casey Schmidt along with Rafael Devers with 20-plus homers this season, and Luis Reyes continues to hit above a 300. Jungle Lee is hitting about a 300. Bryce Aldridge, he's been regressing a little bit, but still about a 360 on base. These guys have been relatively solid, and then you've had William Adames be able to give you some power. He's up to 17 home runs, but also 276 on base. You need a little bit more there. Flip side, for the LA Angels, it's been Zach Neto along with Mike Trout really carrying the mail for the team, 18-plus home runs. For Neto, only about a 325 on base, closer to about a 390 with Mike Trout, but still, he's not necessarily hitting for the world's greatest average. Ori Soler has been absolutely awful for the team, but Wade Meckler is hitting darn near 300. Joe Adell, he gives you some good power, but he's also only got a 291 on base. Nolan Schutel moves the line, and for the Angels, is their bullpen trustworthy? Oh, heck no, and Ryan Johnson only gave them 3 1/3 innings yesterday. Brent Suter has been posting up an ERA above a 4, so you've had some issues there. Kirby Yates, he's probably spent after they utilize him for a few innings, but that said, Sammy Natera, Sam Bachman, Ryan Sefrion, these are all guys with a sub 4.25 ERA. If you need a long guy, Mitch Ferris has not been too bad with about a 3.59 ERA, and for the Giants, this is a team that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA as well. You've had Caleb Killian supplying ERA above a 4 now. Eric Miller has been starting to pick it up a little bit. Keaton Wynn, Dylan Smith, these are guys give you about a sub 3.50 ERA, so it's an interesting circumstance here. I did set my total at 8.3, so I'm seeing the 8s. I'm going to be in on the over, and for the Angels, plus money, I'm going to be in on that money line, and wrap things up with 9.29, 9.30. The Phillies are going to be playing against the New York Yankees. Will Warren goes for the Yankees. Cadillas for Sanchez. For the Phillies, total on this game is 8. Over is anywhere between -110 to a -115. Under is -105 to a -110. -155 to a -162. That number on the Phils, +135 to a +140. That's your number on the New York Yankees. And if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Philadelphia Phillies, that's right around about a +130, +135. Anything of a +130 or better, I'm going to be in on them. For Christopher Sanchez, he just has been an absolute dominator when he has been at home this far this season. And I know that he's had a few rough starts here recently. Overall for the season, 2.65 ERA. Fielding dependent is very much in line with that. 10.2 strikeouts, 1.7 walks per 9 innings. But for Christopher Sanchez, like all of his issues have come away from him. 1.03 ERA at home. At home, 2 home runs allowed in 78 1/3 innings. Away from home, he's giving up between 1.8 to 1.9 home runs per 9 innings with a 4.97 ERA. So just a complete and utter night and day difference. And for Will Warren, he gives up significantly more hard contact when he is at home rather than away from home, because Yankee Stadium will just do that to you. Overall for the season, 4 ERA, 4.10 fielding dependent. He's not doing anything great. He's not doing anything terrible. About 8.8 strikeouts, 3.1 walks per 9 innings. But again, you take a look at these hard contact numbers, and he's got a 4.24 ERA when he's away from home, but away from home, the home runs per 9 rate is more in that neighborhood of 1. At home, it's closer to 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, so I do think that there's a positivity there, and it's a big reason why I set my total at 7.3. I'm going to be in on the under, and for the New York Yankees, man, this has been a Yankees team that just has not been able to score a lot of runs here recently. As a matter of fact, going into yesterday, they had scored 93 runs in their last 28 games. That's about 3.3 runs per game. Just less than savory, to say the least. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they do average about 4.8 runs per game at home compared to about 3.8 to 3.9 runs per game away from home. So it is a lineup that is significantly better when they're at home rather than away from home. You've got Kyle Schwarber giving you all the Schwar bombs as he's up to 33 home runs, right around about a 360 on base. Bryce Harper continues to give you about a 355 on base with 20 plus home runs. And then you've been able to get some good production as well out of Brandon Marsh, who's been able to give you 15 home runs, hitting about a 280, 285. But you need more out of JT Realmuto. He has just not been great. Bryson Stott is starting to pick it up. He, along with Trey Turner, hitting about a 242, 245. Just been a lost season for Alec Boehm, and the outfield spots have just not necessarily been amazing for the team, to say the least. Flip side for the New York Yankees, they're starting to get Paul Goldschmidt rounding back into a little bit of better form. He had 2 hits yesterday. He had a home run earlier in the series, and Ben Rice has been carrying the team. 28 plus home runs, 360 on base, but Ahmed Rosario gives you a 375 on base. Ryan McMahon gives you absolutely nothing whatsoever. Trent Grisham, 320 on base. Hasn't even been good out there in the field. Jazz Chisholm, he does give you some power, but less than a 300 on base as well. The catcher spot has been miserable. But for the Yankees, you do have a team that is numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. These guys like Brent Hedrick, along with Fernando Cruz, David Bennar, even Paul Blackburn. These have been guys who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, so Ryan Kerkering, Yohan Duran, these guys have been incredible. They've been able to give you an ERA that is below a 225, but you've also had Jose Alvarado post up that nice hearty 6 ERA. They had to use up so many guys yesterday because Brian Keller in his MLB debut, they only let him go 3 innings and like 40 pitches, so that hurts you a little bit. These guys like a Kyle Backus and company posting up high ERAs, that's not great, but though Jonathan Bolin has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but I think that Christopher Sanchez goes out there, dominates. I'm going to take plus 130 or better on the Phillies run line, and I'm going to be in on the under, so my total 7.3, and that wraps things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Jake Hasan, who does great work over at Better Day. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one or two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, large CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, giving you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.